It's Don, the Auction Professor here. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about what to do about bad situations on eBay, like negative feedback, buyer issues, and returns. These are issues you're always going to come across, and you just need to know kind of what to do when they do happen. Negative feedback, it's not super easy to fix, but there's easy ways you can do to improve your rating and to deal with some of the negative feedback. In most of the cases, I don't have any negative feedback right now. I have had some recently. I had one not too long ago where the person said that I overcharged on shipping, and I wished I could remember what the other part was, but basically the point was he said I overcharged on shipping, and we have a rep with eBay, a specific person we can call. We don't always call it, but this goes for anybody who's calling eBay. If somebody's made a comment that's not true, you can call it slanderous. Whatever the case may be, it's inaccurate, it's misrepresenting your business. I had the last, I think, 2 now removed. One, the person left a sarcastic remark as a negative, kind of acting like it was, oh, so great, just a great item. And that contradicts eBay's rules. You can't say something was good and then leave negative feedback. So anything like that will be removed. Anything. And you can quote, boards and everywhere you've read that is the case. eBay has a policy. You can't contradict what the feedback says. Just like if somebody left good feedback but left a real bad comment, you could have that removed if you wished. Or you could have just the wording removed and still keep the good feedback, and they just remove the contradictory terms. That can be done too. The other feedback was the one I was just talking about, which was the misrepresenting the issue. I wish I could remember the other part of it, but both parts of it were wrong, and that's what I challenged my negative feedback on, was the fact that the person quoted my shipping was off and I overcharged. And the shipping was stated, the same shipping was stated in the listing. The price for shipping was quoted in the listing, as was the weight, and my final shipping weight was the same as the price in the quote that I gave in the listing. So there was no overcharging on what the shipping was. Overcharging would be charging more than it says in your listing. On those grounds, I've gotten that feedback removed. On the grounds in the other one that they were contradicting statements, I got that removed too. You can now also ask if you feel that there was a mistake. Ask them. Sometimes people do hit the wrong item and left feedback for the wrong person. I've had that happen to me once in 4.5 years. So it does happen. Not very often, but most of the time you can fight them for something like that. Or they leave some snide remark or make some foul remark or anything along that line. Other types of feedbacks you can have removed are like, let's say you sold the global shipping program and someone complained about your shipping speed of time, even though you got it to eBay's facility within the quoted time. Let's say you're using the global shipping program, you're shipping an item to Germany, you ship it off right away within 24 hours, it gets to them quickly, and then it's shipped out from there. The minute it hits the facility in Kentucky, that's the minute I'm clear from shipping. As long as I've shipped it out within the correct amount of time, and it gets there and it's scanned, I'm safe. After that point, anything else that happens to that transaction, eBay is responsible for. So if you get a feedback regarding anything else, it's eBay's issue with it. The only other aspect on that you may not be covered is if the item was poorly packed or something along that line and it was damaged because of that. But as long as you're packing good and it's scanned in at eBay, you should be safe for everything at that point. Even the feedback should be removed if they say speed of service was wrong or overcharging or anything like that. And I've had that happen, and I've had them removed every time. Those are good examples of it. Another way to get rid of, well, not so much get rid of, but lessen the impact of feedback. Let's say you only have a couple hundred feedbacks up and you only sell a few items a month. The only way you're going to improve that feedback quick to get it out of your range of hurting you is to sell a whole bunch more items. So in the past, I've recommended to other people, list a whole bunch of really cheap items that'll sell really quick. I mean, a ton of them. And what's going to happen is your feedback percentage, say you're at 98.1, you sell another 100 items, it's going to lower. It's now 99% positive feedback. So you can raise it a whole percentage point by listing a whole bunch of little cheapo items that'll sell quick. Put them under if you want to. If it's hurting you to a point where you're afraid it's actually going to hurt your business or you might get banned from eBay, that's your best bet to do. Just blow out some items out there, a whole bunch of them, get them up and sold quickly. Get them out of there, and that way your percentage will go down. So if you happen to get another negative or something, you can combat it at least. I mean, for us, if I got a negative feedback right now, I would still have 100% positive feedback. Just because we're selling so many items a month that our percentages takes so much to go down. I would have to get 2 or 3 to actually get below 100%. And that's just because it rounds up, where it rounds off at. So for us, even if I had one, it's still going to show 100%. Again, that's because I have hundreds of items that are sold. We get 100 plus feedback a week on average or more, just on the one account, not counting the other accounts. So for us, it's not going to hurt us as much. We can afford to take a ding here or there. I don't, but we can afford to. Other areas that you may have issues with are a person complaining about an item not as received. It wasn't correctly described or anything like that. eBay makes you return it nowadays anyway. Just take the item back. Who cares what the issue is? You can just go ahead and resell it again. It's just the cost of doing business. I just take it back no matter what it is. I'll take almost any return. If it's over 30 days where you could have an argument with eBay if the person files a complaint or anything else, that's a different story. The only thing you got to think about, though, even if it's over 30 days, sometimes eBay still is going to side with the buyer. That's just the way it is these days. I know in the past they've done it before, but the point is they can still give you negative feedback even at that point. So you just got to be careful that you can get it challenged, have enough on your side to be able to challenge a feedback if it does hit, if the person's trying to return something over 30 days. Along that same line, if they return you the wrong item, you can always open a case. You can always, challenge it, through eBay, make a bunch of calls, check out this person's other feedback to see how honest they are. You can look at the feedback they've left for people who have bought from them or who have sold from them and see how they've treated other people. In most cases where I've had somebody that was shifty and doing some strange stuff, trying to scam me, I was able to look at their feedback and see right off the bat that, boom, yes, they've left negative feedback for other people for similar issues, and the people who have commented, responded to their feedback, have mentioned similar problems that I'm having. So that would be my challenge point right there, to challenge it. I've never had an issue where I couldn't challenge it for that reason. Whether they returned the item and didn't have tracking on it, you're pretty much covered if they didn't include tracking. If they didn't wait for a return notice, or if you have a different return address than your shipping address and they just shipped it back regardless of asking, they didn't follow the instructions, you take the return back, but they didn't follow the procedures. The only one that I don't have a real way to get any leverage back on is, like, let's say someone filed a chargeback with PayPal. Now that's almost impossible to win. Their charge card company almost always gets it. They can say to their charge card company, I never made this order, somehow it was processed, or they don't know how it got there. That's happened to me before. We've lost those every time. I don't know any way to get around those. The charge card company gets the leeway no matter what. PayPal can fight it. I did get the money back from PayPal, but I did lose the case technically. I did a seller protection case, I think, at this time. This has been a year or two, so in the end I got my money back, but I wasn't happy with the results either way. It took a long time. It was a big hassle. That's the biggest one you're going to lose. If you get negative feedback for doing something stupid or mixing items up when you shipped them, or not talking about a defect in it, or it just wasn't the way it was supposed to be, or you waited a week or two to ship it, those are all your fault. There's nothing you can do about those. Those are stuff you take your punishment and move on. Get it as a life lesson learned that, hey, I need to ship these out immediately. I need to take care of business quicker and do what I'm supposed to do. I need to make sure I'm not missing defects. That's your problem that you need to address. If they have returned the item, just give them a refund and move on. If you think it was BS or something, just block them and move on. You're not going to be happy with every return, and you're not going to buy the reason for every return. It doesn't matter anymore. eBay's going to require you to take that return. Just take it, give them their money back, and move on. Block them if that's what you want to do, and just move on. I've probably got 50 or 60 people on my block list just on one account alone. And we do block them on both accounts right off the bat. We'll keep a list of the names. I'll cut and paste all the block list, and then I'll just paste it over, as I said, over to the other account. It's pretty easy to do if you're having two accounts and you want to make sure you get them all. That's the best way to do it. But we block them in that case. Another thing, let's say you mess up and you don't have the item or you can't find the item and you want to cancel it. I hear all the time that a seller does this. They'll cancel it as the buyer requests it, even though the buyer didn't request it, thinking that's going to save them. No matter what, if the order was canceled, the buyer can still leave you negative feedback. That's just a fact. If you don't believe it, look it up or call eBay and ask them. So even when you cancel a listing and try and use it as the buyer requests it, they can still leave negative feedback. The only way you can cover yourself if they do, and that's not the case, and you know, they did ask you to cancel it, now they're saying no, and they're trying to be a jerk about it. Make sure you have emails that say specifically, yes, please cancel it. I won't cancel a listing even if somebody asks me to do it unless they specifically state in an email, yes, please cancel this. If they say, yeah, that's fine, or whatever the case may be, I need them to say it. I need it to be in writing in my email. As long as it's in my email, I'll cancel it and not worry about it, because that's my fight for any negative feedback I receive from that. That's all I have to show them, and it should be gone. Another issue, let's say somebody opens a case against you for item not received. Even though with the scan it was all tracked and you can show the tracking shows it was received at their location, they can still open a case. If they open a case, though, when the post office says it was received, just call eBay up and they'll close it. Automatically, no questions asked. As long as it shows it was delivered, you're free. They'll close it. End of story. They can't leave feedback on that as well, saying it wasn't delivered or anything like that. That is going to be between that buyer and the post office from that point on. The post office says they had it, they said they delivered, so it's a post office issue. They may have to report it as stolen, they may have to argue with the post office, but you are free and clear from any aspect of delivery of that issue and feedback of that issue. So those are issues that I've seen arise quite often and easy to address. Those are the majority of the issues you're going to see. But again, just refund them if somebody wants to return it. Just accept it, refund them, and move on. Relist it and sell it again. Almost all the time when I've gotten something back or returned, most of my returns used to be in clothing. I don't have any clothing that's returned lately. Mostly it's coats and things that the sizes are very specific. They don't fluctuate. A large is a large in most coats. An extra large is an extra large. There are some specifics that might not follow that rule, but for us that's the case. So our returns are almost nothing. Collectibles, another reason why we hit in the collectibles is returns are almost nil. They're used items, they're vintage, they're collectible. They do have issues. You take good pictures and you're not going to have the returns as long as you describe them well and list the defects. For us, we underestimate the condition. We list every little flaw. Even if it may not be a major flaw to somebody else, we list it, and it helps us fix some of those issues before they ever happen. Most of our feedback says, you know, awesome, better than expected, wow, great, perfect from start to finish, things like that. That's what you're looking to do. Do it quickly. To help avoid these issues too, make sure you're shipping out right away. Ship out within 24 hours. Keep that as a rule. Unless you're posting, hey, I ship out in less time, that's a rule for us though. We always ship within 24 hours. If something shows up before the post office arrives that day, we ship them out immediately. That same day we are packing them. We're online all the time. We always check that. There's always someone online. You always see a little pop-up that says, hey, this person's paid. So someone notices it and we ship it right away. It may not be me, but somebody else will grab it, throw it up in our bins, and off they go. Those are the key issues to look at. Just keep track of your emails between your buyer and you too. When issues do arise, make sure you have issues. Make sure you're polite. If they start cussing, you can report them for profanity and whatever else the case may be. And that's another reason you can get people negative feedback against you removed. If they list your name, they list specifics, they list a number, they list something nasty, those can all be removed. So just make sure you're always polite. Even if they're nasty to you, don't come back at them. Be nice. No foul words, no aggression, no insults, nothing. Just take it, smile at it. Think it as you're smiling towards this issue, and be nice and polite. Who cares what they say? You don't have to deal with them ever again. Just be done with it. Give them a refund or accept the return or whatever the case may be. If your policy is, hey, I don't give out partial refunds, don't give out a partial refund. The only thing I can say about is that you can be open then for negative feedback. If, though, in an email they state to you that, hey, I can leave you negative feedback if you don't take care of this, any threats to say that they're going to leave feedback if you don't do something, anything, that can be grounds to get that feedback just thrown out. They can't do it. That's a violation of the policy. You can report them for doing that. So anything like, hey, I'd like $10 back, or I'm going to leave you negative feedback, that's extortion. That can be removed. Another thing to keep in mind too on this same line is if the email address or the mailing address they give you in the PayPal payment isn't used to mail the item, you're liable for anything at that point. Always use whatever address is in your payment notice. Never ever change that. I don't care what anybody says. Don't change it. Tell them you can't do it. Tell them the policy states this. You're going to get yourself into a issue with possibly having to cover something. You're not covered under seller protection. You're not covered under some of the eBay protections if you use any different address. So that's another way to help combat it. But those are just the basics. There's much more to some of these issues, but those will save you a ton of time and a ton of worry if you follow those and take that advice. But again, Don the Auction Professor, please hit the like button if you enjoyed it, tell a friend, and subscribe if you haven't.